I'm Laura McElhinney. I am the Vice President of Entertainment Sales at SiriusXM Media. I'm so excited to be here today with these incredible women. We have Chelsea Delbridge, who works at Blizzard. I'm going to let you all say a little bit about yourself too, but I'll just go for it. Jessie from EA, and then we also have Kristel Van Kleef from Red Bull. And again, I was on a boat last week in Alaska, so if I start tipping like this, then yeah, please catch me. But why don't I hand it over to you before we dig into the topics and just tell us a little bit about yourself, a quick introduction, and then we'll dig in.
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic.
So I'm Kristel. Nice to meet you all. We already had a lovely session this morning, so thanks Brent Innovators, and also thanks Taylor for your great insights. I work for Red Bull now 11 years. I started in the Netherlands, so that's where my accent is from. I'm Dutch. Worked for the headquarters for a couple of years, and now I'm the VP of Marketing for Red Bull here in the US, responsible for on-premise. That's where Red Bull decides to build a brand. So it's everything with festivals, events, experiences, collegiate, recently fitness strategy that we add into the mix. So always evolving and a lot of fun.
Great. Hi everybody. Oh, is my mic on? It is not on. Oh, there we go. Okay, working now? Great. Hi everybody, my name's Jessie. I have been very fortunate to work in a lot of fun places. I started my career at Disney, Activision, Blizzard at one point, and then Mattel, and now I'm at EA, and I've been at EA for about 6 years now, working on The Sims. Soon to be a 25-year-old brand, so very lucky, lots of heritage, hopefully lots of Sims fans here. In any case, lots of fun places in my career, and a lot of that in brand and digital marketing.
Hey everybody, I'm Chelsea Delbridge. Thanks for being here today and for listening to this panel of Charlie's Angels type ladies. I am the Senior Director of Content Marketing for Overwatch, which is a game franchise for Blizzard Entertainment, now Microsoft. And really excited to share what knowledge and wisdom I can from my decade plus in this field. Predating this, I was at Warner Brothers at the NFL Network and had an early career in linear television, so I've cut my teeth in content and look forward to sharing with you ways that we can market major launches and tentpoles.
Yes, that is what we're here to talk about today. So these ladies are very familiar with how to launch major product launches and then also tentpole moments, which we'll discuss. Some of the topics that we'll talk about today are around innovation and familiarity. So these are big, huge brands with major loyal fan bases. So how do they balance innovation with then that loyal fan base? Interestingly, I drove down with a coworker who loves The Sims, was telling me all about the mother load.
Yep.
Anybody know about that? Yep. Okay, well, I learned about it this morning.
I wish I could do that to my marketing budget.
Yeah, everybody does. More, money. So, there's a huge following around that. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about data-driven marketing and how they use data to help inform. And then last but not least, tentpole moments and how you surround tentpole moments to make and engage and captivate your audience. So with that, the first question here, how do you balance the desire for consistent innovation while not risking that loyal fan base? I'll jump ball that to any one of you. Go ahead.
I'll dive in. So I think as long as you're rooting innovation in data, both in practice and outcomes, it's a great way to organically pace, test, and learn in a way that won't alienate your audience. And what I mean by this is, if you are thinking through any test and learn strategy, then you should be ensuring that you're both deploying it to an optimized feed that makes sense with whatever you're testing and learning about. You should ensure that you have a clear outcome in mind, not a KPI. A lot of people confuse KPIs and outcomes. KPIs are just a success measurement, and outcome is like, what are you actually trying to achieve? So have a clear outcome in mind. Then you set your KPIs to okay, what's the best way that we can actually measure that outcome? Once you have those things in your head, then you can say, all right, now what is the actual test and learn that I want to execute? That's where more creative and strategic thought comes in. And with that, you want to ensure that, like any good experiment, we've all learned from grade school, you want to have your control group and your variable group. So if you have a bunch of experiments going on at the same time, you have no control group. You just have a bunch of variables. So there's no real baseline to measure success from. So again, if you follow data in both practice and in outcome in terms of the way that you're structuring your experiments, then you should be able to achieve some great test and learns, both small scale, big scale, with a strategic frequency without alienating your audience by inundating them with new stuff.
I can go ahead. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this microphone here. I feel like I'm like popping in and out. So for us, really, I think it is about, it's such an interesting problem that we have right now because we are a 25-year-old brand, but the game that I actually work on and that's live in the market right now is just about to turn 10 years old, which is really, really old in game years. I know it doesn't feel that way, but it is. We also don't have a lot of the fancy things that a lot of modern games, younger kids have come to expect, like multiplayer, for example. Yeah, like playing with your friends, crazy. So it's always kind of a, 1 foot in the old, 1 foot in the new, and where we're trying to go. And I think the where we're trying to go part is incredibly important, kind of drafting off very similarly to where what you were just speaking to, is that we're constantly thinking about like what moment in time are we in and what exactly is it that we're trying to do. I am obviously very concerned about the day-to-day business because, to be perfectly honest, The Sims 4 is the bread and butter that supports that whole house. Like, I pay the bills, I have a lot of responsibility, and so it is really important that we are constantly looking at our current player base. But even within that current player base, our players change over time. They're not just like one type of player, and so just having constantly thinking about like where each of these players actually are in their player journey, what they're feeling like, and just making sure that we are constantly communicating with them. So much of that is about hand-holding them and that community management aspect, which is very, very important because it's what makes people feel heard. It's what, we're constantly talking to our players in some way, shape, or form on social media, in our game, what we're surfacing there, and just knowing that there are very different messages. There is no such thing as a peanut butter approach for us. But the flip side of that is also that you shouldn't be afraid to do something new because realistically, your current player base, they're out there consuming, mass media just like everybody else. It's not like they're like so special and so different that they don't like the same things that other people do. And so I think it's okay to take the right chances in the right moments. And like most importantly, aligning your organization to like, hey, this is not a moment just for the players. Like this is a moment where we want to talk to more people or talk to different people because it's really important that people understand what this brand is about and like let them not forget. It's always a pleasant surprise to me just how many people know The Sims, played The Sims, or like, oh yeah, I played SimCity, like something Sims adjacent. And so we have that very strong brand. We have to continue showing up because honestly, if people aren't talking about us, they're probably not playing our game either. So just thinking through, I think we have a lot of space, more space to experiment than we actually typically think.
Yeah, and if I may build on that, like how to drive innovation without overwhelming your audience. I think pretty much all of you know Red Bull. We've been there for a while, and in many countries we're number one. And I think the favorite saying that our owner, rest in peace, once said is that, hey, be number one, but behave second. So that means that you need to be very intentional about your innovation. And innovation can come in many ways. People tend to think it needs to be the big, shiny stuff, but it can also be in very granular things. And if we look into Red Bull as a brand, if you look into our product, we have the same product since the 90s. It hasn't changed in design, it hasn't changed in size. Yes, we grew up a couple of sizes, but we stay very true to that core, and the belief was very much of our owners, like, hey, if you grow your core, you grow as a brand. So also when we bring in new innovations, it's intentional. So every year we have a summer and winter flavor. No one knows the flavor, even we as marketeers hear it pretty late. And it always comes with this flavor you never heard of. Like next year, something with woodruff. If someone in this room knows what woodruff is, congrats to you. But we do know that our customers and consumers are looking for it because every year it's a winning product. Because it's not overwhelming the category, but it's about how can we do it in a very well and an intentional way.
Tell me
more about how you think about launching that only twice a year. So how many years now have you had these special flavors?
We have it now since like 5 to 10 years.
So it's now mass market. The loyal fan base expects it. So how are you doing that? How are you launching that in market to get that excitement around it? And then even building upon it once the market's picked it up.
Yeah, love that. So I think, as many of us marketing knows, like the number one thing you want to achieve when you launch a new product is trial and awareness. So how do you drive trial for the product, and how do you get the most awareness as possible? And what is the audience like? Where is your audience, and where are they seeking for your product? And for Red Bull, if we want to reach a young audience, we know they go out to festivals. So that's then for us around the globe, what are the number one festivals we want to launch this product? So Coachella is coming up. It's every year an iconic brand. We've been there for 20 years, so we look very much into a partnership with them. Not so much us coming in, paying them to launch it, but how can we work together and have an authentic integration of our product into that festival and build a relevancy together.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, a cultural brand, really. You've created this sports drink or this energy drink to now be everywhere. Sports, music, everywhere. It's really impressive. Okay, you all talked a bit about data and different audiences, so I want to go there a little bit more deeply and specifically talk about, so lots of different audiences to engage with, your loyal fan base, your growing audience. How are you using data to inform the marketing approach? And how are you working with product really on that as well, right? Because there's so much that feeds into product that then has to feed into marketing. So I'm just curious about how you're navigating that.
I can jump in on this one because I feel like my life is just the art and the science all the time. So it is very much for me about the art and the science. The data can only tell you what happened in the past. It can't really tell you what your consumers are looking for in the future. And I think that is where, when you talk to a lot of your analytics people, they will often say like, oh, here's this thing that happened. It's really interesting, right? And then it's like, well, what's my headline there? Like, what am I supposed to do with that information? We get an overwhelming amount of information, especially because we are a game. So obviously there are analytics in the game, and we know exactly, I mean, down to how many babies are people having, how many Sims are people killing, like really messed up stuff. But there's also a lot of fun. There's like lighter things. It's like, oh, like, 1 billion babies born. Like, so I think that the data is only as useful as, what is the action that I'm going to take from that? And I think that has been, there's been this renaissance, if you will, about all the things that you could possibly measure and what you could do with it. But I often find that is more of a burden for marketers, because you're just like, okay, well, now every decision has to be justified by data, right? Not really. You actually do have to go with your gut sometimes. There's still a lot of room for creativity. And let me tell you, the best things that we've ever done were not necessarily like, I've added this up on a spreadsheet and everything looks good, like, let's go. Like, that is not where the magic happens. So data, yes, it is very much a part of what we do, and we are measuring and we are setting KPIs, but also ultimately, like you were saying earlier, we know we have a vision for what that outcome is, and that comes with having lots and lots of conversations with the creative people in the room. Going back to our developers, who are, a lot of these developers have been working on that game for almost 25 years. So like, they have gone through multiple iterations of the game. There's a lot of, oh, we want this thing from the past, this thing from the past. But it's like, if I just delivered that same pack from what they knew in The Sims 3, not that many people are going to care. There's actually a really small audience that's still going to care about that exact same thing. However, if you put a little twist on it, you modernize it, and then you package it up differently, then you're talking. Then you're talking to somebody new. Then there is still something that is recognizable to your current players. For example, we recently reintroduced the heart bed. For those who know. Really important. Yes, heart beds. These are the things that I talk about on a regular basis. But that's exactly it, is like finding that balance between like knowing that the data can only take you so far. And I think that is what still like encourages me as a marketer to be creative, and that it's okay. Like, AI is not going to suddenly take over the world. Like, AI only knows what's happened. It has yet to really demonstrate its ability to like create net new. So
If I can jump in here. I agree. I think data is something that's reactive. However, I also do think that there's a lot of value to listening to your community. And maybe this is skewed because part of my remit is community management and engagement. But I also oversee social and influencers and developer communications. So this is a bit unique to video games, but I see it as an applicable skill set across the board when it comes to marketing. There's an emphasis oftentimes of product data. But product data can kind of be a reactive measurement. Oftentimes, what's a better measurement to innovate off of and to really have an innate understanding of who your audience is and how they stack into different archetypes or segments, how best to reach and engage them, is by executing solid social listening and paying attention to the vortex point of game engagement data or product engagement data coupled with social listening. And what I mean by this is, just anecdotally at Blizzard, we have no less than 3 different analytics groups that work with us. We work with global insights, consumer insights, and then social listening, which is what I oversee more, part of what I oversee. And the way that we are able to really achieve great result is when we innovate based on the product data and based on best practice and, historical skill set and legacy experience, as well as out-of-the-box thinking, but we root it in early listening from our community. And the way that we do that is we hold playtest sessions where we invite a group of NDA influencers who are very representative of our most core player base. We also engage with focus groups and test groups globally, as being a global brand is really important. Another thing, like when you're thinking about audience segmentation, it's not just here, it's worldwide. And Taylor, as I'm sure that you know from Taco Bell being a global brand, there's a heck of a lot of people in this world with different tastes and interests that you're trying to reach and engage. So anyway, just being able to use those platforms that we have, whether it's an online audience that you're surveying, or it's actually pulling people in person and getting out there and having real conversations with them, getting real-time feedback with them, and getting the people who are consuming or representative of the consumer in the room with the developer or the person who's creating the product, can be really valuable in ensuring that you're paving the way for a successful launch. Too often, we market to ourselves, we build product for ourselves, it launches, and we think, what happened? Well, you probably didn't have enough voices in the room and enough diversity of opinion in those early test phases. And that's where we've seen a lot of success, both in the products we're innovating, as well as the way that we're launching our marketing and getting the messaging out, is really focusing more on some of the grassroots social listening and grassroots communities to have us really building a product together, which is reflective of marketing now because it's no longer one directional, it's multi-channel. So why should your product innovation be different than that? It should also be, a symbiotic relationship with your consumer.
Consumers are really important, right? We talked about AI earlier, and AI cannot replace the back and forth conversation that you're having with your consumers. Maybe it can help amalgamate all that information for you, but it cannot replace the consumers that you're all trying to reach. So with that, do you have anything to add from a data perspective?
I have to say I love what these 2 ladies just said about that, yes, data can bring you as far. One of my favorite things to do, as many probably are aware, like we have student marketeers that we have every top school in the US. We have a person that's basically our ambassador for the brand. And they are our ears and eyes in the field. And they know everything what's going on with the consumer. So having a brainstorm with them is so much more valuable than any data that I can have looking like behind my screen. And maybe it's not a Rebel example, but my favorite example is from McDonald's when they had a massive image challenge. It was like the whole obesity trend, like health trend, and they were struggling with cutting through, and a lot of great brands coming up that were competitors of theirs. And they looked at Reddit, and they were looking for a common thread, like what is it that actually loves about McDonald's, because there's still a heavy, loyal fan base. And what they found is that everyone has a favorite meal. So that's when they came with the campaign, like, hey, this is the meal of Rihanna, and like put it out, this is the meal of, and that brought them straight back into cultural relevancy. And I think that community-driven approach is what I really like.
Love that. Speaking of cultural relevancy, let's pivot into Tentpole experiences. So how do you all think about how to engage those consumers in real life I'm so glad we're back to in real life, being in this room with everybody. I guess it's been years now, but it still feels good. So talk to us about that, how you engage those consumers in real life. Obviously, in-person events can be smaller than the wide-reaching internet that we can access. So talk to me also about how you can scale an event and how that can have legs beyond just the event itself.
I think the thing that first thing they tend to look at is that, hey, how can I become an official partner of a big moment like the Super Bowl or a Coachella or an Amsterdam Dance event, Miami Music Week, and we all know that's expensive. And being a young brand or a legacy brand, like one strategy that Rebel will never do is just pay to play. But what we do look at, like what can we add to that experience that a consumer is looking for or not looking for, and we bring it to them. And I'm going to use an example that probably, like, if it would have been done in the US, like, I would be sued right now, but I just attended Rebel, and Amsterdam Dance event is pretty much the Miami Music Week of Europe. And it's always this rival, like, who's cooler, who has the best industry. And it's where every brand wants to be a part of. Every brand that has some cultural relevancy wants to be part of Amsterdam Dance event. We're like, okay, how can we actually cut through the noise? And we knew that the red light district in Amsterdam had a massive image issue. So we were like, okay, what can we give back to the red light district for this industry that has such a negative connotation? And we found this brothel. We went in and we said to, like, the people working there, said, hey, what if we send you on a vacation? We send you on a trip, and we make sure it looks better when you come back, and we're going to celebrate club culture. So every page room was a different club. It was the Roxy, it was Speed Freaks, all clubs that are not there anymore, and we live streamed it. So we gave you a peek behind the curtain of the red light. People loved it. Only 200 people could attend, but it went viral at that moment.
I love that. We always get asked for never been done before. Never been done before.
I think that if I can piggyback on that great example, to your question of, like, how do you scale events, I think that's a fantastic example of thinking through, like, what are the tools in your toolbox to be able to scale an event and generate reach or interest. And with that, it's like, it's not just thinking about the people in the room, it's thinking, how do you bring this moment home? How do you make it accessible at scale for people? And it's having a really healthy and strong PR plan or media plan alongside a healthy social media plan, I imagine. Influencers really tapping all those channels so that you take what was a 200-person event and make it, I'm sure, a multi-billion footprint in terms of impressions and reach.
I think not maybe like a little bit of a surprise to everybody, but we don't have endless marketing budgets, as we've mentioned before. There's no mother load button for that. However, when I think about what we've been, what we do on The Sims in terms of it is a digital game, and not only are we a digital game, but we're also offline, or not multiplayer, not offline. We are online, but not having that multiplayer moment. People like Fortnite, Overwatch. Everybody else seems to have these places where these third spaces, if you will, where they can gather people. We really don't have that. So much of the Sims experience is sort of individualistic. But to your point about community, we have found that so much of the Sims is defined by the players who put all their time into it, hours and hours, hundreds of thousands of hours into this game. And a lot of these players have actually built micro communities, just as influencers. Like, we have some really big influencers. Our biggest influencer recently just hit 2 million on YouTube, which is a really big deal. She only plays one game, and it's just The Sims, and that she's built her entire career and her life on just playing The Sims. And so activating those creators in those moments is so much more of an authentic experience for the widest group of our players, and making sure that we're engaging with these people and we're maintaining these very real human relationships with them is really what helps us scale those larger moments. Because honestly, a Super Bowl ad isn't going to do very much for us. Like, that's not our audience. It's just, I was just talking to someone at lunch about how that's like way too big of a cudgel for us. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But if we were able to take some of those resources or whatever that is and just apply this toward like a bigger influencer activation, that starts to have some legs for us, reaching beyond just our core community, maybe working with people who, aren't usually in the core, but they play other games that are similar to ours, like Looking at You, Animal Crossing, Minecraft. Those are the things that it's really just working smarter with our budget and really understanding, for us, the power is in the word of mouth, and in order to do that, that really starts with the people who are playing our game. Even if they can't connect online, being able to connect with their favorite, influencer or creator goes a long way in helping us get that reach that we're looking for.
Go for it. One last
Cool. So going back to the question regarding how do you partner with product.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a way that we partner with product as well. It's like, all right, so we're unleashing this product. We're forecasting this much in terms of revenue. As a marketing group, we're like, all right, how do we bridge that gap? How do we get there? And it's like, okay, well, who's the audience? Is it going to be active, recently lapsed, win back, defined as they haven't played our game in over 60 days? Or is it new? And depending on what that answer is or what mix of that answer is, it's like, okay, are we activating our 300 strong influencer program worldwide? Are we activating with John Cena like we did in season 6 of one of our bigger product launches? Are we activating with Zed or a bigger celebrity that's going to really drive that cut through? Or are we really just sticking to the people that we know are going to speak to our recently lapsed, to our core? You have different levers that you're going to pull to be able to bridge that gap to meet product, depending on what audience it is that you're trying to reach and engage. So just something to always have in mind. It's like a lot of people are like, oh, let's get a celebrity. Oh, let's get a big influencer. And it's like, oh, that may not actually be the right lever to pull, depending on what you're trying to do and who you're trying to reach.
I love that. What an incredible discussion. 3 smart women here leading awesome brands. I learned that community is super important. Take risks. Trust your gut. Be good at what you do. All 3 of you are great at what you do. Thank you so much for the time.